What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another crypto update. Today we are talking about one of the most watched tokens in the entire crypto market right now, XRP. XRP has had one of the wildest strides in crypto history. It went from nearly zero to over $3 and now it is sitting around $1.40. So the big question today is, where does XRP go from here? Is a massive breakout coming? Or is this just another fake rally before another drop? We are covering everything today: price action, ETF data, whale activity, regulations, technical upgrades, and price targets. So stay with me because this one is packed. Let's get straight into it. Alright, let's start with the current price situation. As of today, April 28, 2026, XRP is trading around $1.39 to $1.43. Now, if you have been watching XRP for the past few months, that number probably sounds very familiar. And that is because XRP has been completely stuck in a range between $1.28 and $1.5 for most of 2026. Every time it pushes up toward $1.5, sellers come in and push it back down. Every time it drops toward $1.3, buyers step in and hold the floor. So the market is literally in a standoff right now. But here is what makes this interesting. On the chart, XRP is forming what is called a symmetrical triangle. What that means is price is getting squeezed between a lower high and a higher low. The range is getting tighter and tighter every single day. And when a triangle like this breaks, the move that follows is usually fast and sharp. If XRP closes above $1.55 with strong volume, analysts are targeting $1.9 as the next level. But if $1.39 support breaks, we could see a drop back toward $1.28 or even $1.3. Right now the market is compressing like a spring, and something has to give very soon. Now let's talk about the journey XRP has been on this month. April started off really rough for XRP. In the first week of April, XRP dropped all the way down to $1.28, testing a support level that had held since February. Volume was weak, the MACD was negative, and RSI was sitting around 38, which signals very low momentum. It looked like XRP was going to break down completely. But then something shifted. Mid-April, buyers came back hard. XRP reclaimed $1.35, then pushed through $1.4, and at one point even briefly touched $1.5. That was a massive move, nearly 10% gain in just 1 week, and that made April 2026 the strongest month for XRP since September 2025. But then the same old pattern happened. XRP failed to close above $1.5. Sellers showed up right at that resistance zone. Price came back down to the $1.39 to $1.43 range. Here is an interesting fact though: historically, April is XRP's single best month of the year. Since 2014, XRP has averaged 24.8% returns every April. Whether that trend continues into late April 2026, we will find out very soon. Now let's talk about something that is actually very bullish: XRP ETFs. Back in November 2025, 7 spot XRP ETFs launched in the United States. It was a massive moment for XRP and for the crypto market overall. In the early weeks after launch, over $1.6 billion flowed into these funds. But then February and March happened. The Iran conflict shook global markets and XRP crashed from $2.4 all the way down to $1.11. ETF investors panicked, and for the first time ever, XRP ETFs recorded a monthly outflow, $31 million left in March alone. That was a scary moment for XRP bulls. But April has completely changed the story. April 2026 is now the strongest month for XRP ETF inflows in all of 2026. Total inflows this month have crossed $82 million, and there are still a couple of days left. That fully erases the March outflows and puts XRP ETFs back on a positive trajectory. Bitwise has now overtaken Canary Capital as the largest XRP ETF with $425 million in cumulative inflows. Franklin Templeton also pulled in $22 million this month alone. And total institutional positioning in XRP is now above $2.6 billion. So here is the obvious question: if institutions are buying this much, why is the price not moving? The answer is supply pressure. Analysts say about 60% of XRP's circulating supply was bought around $1.44, and those holders are selling into every single rally. Until that supply gets absorbed, price cannot break out. But once it does, the move could be explosive. Now let's look at what the big money is actually doing on chain, because this is where it gets really interesting. Since February 2026, whales have withdrawn approximately 7 billion XRP from exchanges. 7 billion XRP just quietly pulled off trading platforms. When large holders move coins off exchanges, it means one thing: they are not planning to sell anytime soon. They are accumulating for the long term. On top of that, wallets holding between 1,000 and 100,000 XRP have just hit an all-time high. These are the mid-tier holders, not the tiny retail traders. Not the billionaire whales, the serious investors in the middle. And they are stacking XRP at current prices. So think about this for a second. Retail investors are frustrated, confused, and some are selling. Meanwhile, the smart money is quietly buying and removing supply from the market. This exact pattern has happened before major breakouts in crypto history. Is history about to repeat itself? With XPRP? The on-chain data certainly suggests it could. Alright, now let's talk about the thing that arguably matters the most for XRP's long-term future regulations. First, the SEC case against Ripple is officially over. That years-long legal battle that hung over XPRP like a dark cloud is completely resolved. For years, investors were scared to touch XPRP because if Ripple had lost, XPRP could have been declared a security and effectively banned from US markets. That overhang is gone now, and that is fundamentally bullish for XPRP. But the bigger story right now is the Clarity Act. This is potentially the most important piece of crypto legislation in US history. What does it do? It officially classifies XPRP as a digital commodity, putting it in the same category as Bitcoin and Ethereum. That means clear rules, clear regulations, and the green light for institutions to use XPRP at scale. Here is the good news: the Clarity Act already passed the House of Representatives back in July 2025. Here is the bad news: it has been stuck in the Senate ever since. It has been delayed 3 times already. Just last week, over 120 crypto companies wrote a letter directly to the Senate Banking Committee demanding they schedule a markup vote. But Chairman Tim Scott still has not put it on the calendar. The key date to watch is May 21st, the Memorial Day recess. If a markup is scheduled before that date, analysts believe XPRP could see an explosive rally. And here is why the Clarity Act matters so much. Once it passes, Tier 1 banks can finally start using XPRP for actual cross-border settlements. Right now, most of them use Ripple's network but settle in fiat or stablecoins. If they switch to XPRP for actual settlement, the demand surge would be unlike anything we have seen before. Now let's talk about what is happening on the technology side, because Ripple is not just sitting still. The XPRP ledger is going through some serious upgrades right now. First, Ripple version 3.2.0 is ready to go, packed with new security features, compliance tools, and institutional-grade utilities. Second, and this is a big one, Ripple has a 4-phase plan to make the XPRP ledger quantum-resistant by 2028. We are currently in Phase 2 testing NIST-recommended post-quantum cryptography algorithms on the network. This might sound very technical, but what it means in simple terms is that XPRP is being built to survive even the era of quantum computers. That is a massive competitive advantage for enterprise adoption. Third, a new EVMEM-compatible sidechain has been developed for Ripple. This means Ethereum and Cosmos developers can now build on the XPRP ledger using their existing tools. That dramatically expands the developer base and brings new projects to the Ripple ecosystem. And on top of all that, Coinbase is launching trade at settlement for XPRP futures on May 1st. That is an institutional-grade trading mechanism that already exists for Bitcoin and Ethereum. It signals that XPRP is officially being treated as a major institutional asset. Also, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse just won Harvard Business School's 2026 Business Leader of the Year award. That kind of recognition does not happen for companies that are going away. It signals growing credibility and legitimacy. Alright. This is the section everyone has been waiting for: price targets. But first, a very important disclaimer: nothing I say here is financial advice. These are analyst projections and market data. Always do your own research before making any decisions. Short term, if XPRP breaks above $1.55 with strong volume, analysts are targeting $1.9. If XPRP loses the $1.39 support level, expect a drop back toward $1.28 to $1.3. The FOMC meeting happening today, April 28th to 29th, could also act as a catalyst in either direction. For the rest of 2026, the conservative analyst range is $1.3 to $2.6. Standard Chartered is forecasting $2.8 by end of year. Bitwise's bull case model puts XPRP at $4.94 by December. For XPRP to reach $5 this year, for things need to happen. Bitcoin needs to reclaim $100,000. The Clarity Act needs to pass. Tier 1 banks need to start using XPRP for settlement, and ETF inflows need to reach $4 to $5 billion. For 2027, Standard Chartered targets $7 and Bitwise targets $6.25. For 2030, most credible forecasts sit in the $10 to $28 range depending on adoption. Now, the bearish view: some analysts believe XPRP could fall below $1 in the next 5 years. Their argument is that real bank adoption has not materialized, and Ripple's own stablecoin Relust is now competing directly with XPRP as a bridge asset. Both sides have valid points, and it is important to understand both before putting any money into this. Alright, let's wrap this up with a quick summary. XPRP is currently trading around $1.39 to $1.43, stuck in a tight range 4 months. A symmetrical triangle is forming on the chart. A breakout is coming, direction is still unclear. XPRP ETFs pulled in $82 million in April, the best inflow month of 2026. Institutional demand is real. Whales have pulled 7 billion XPRP off exchanges since February. Accumulation is happening quietly. The SEC case is done and the Clarity Act in the Senate is the single biggest catalyst left to watch. Short-term target $1.9 on a breakout above $1.55. 2026 targets range from $2.8 to $4.94 depending on which analyst you follow. The bottom line is this: XPRP has never been in a better fundamental position than it is right now. The legal battle is over, ETFs are live, institutions are buying, and the technology is advancing. The only thing missing is the trigger, and when that trigger comes, this market will move fast. So what do you think? Is XPRP going to break out in 2026 or not? Drop your price target in the comments. I want to see what you guys are thinking. If this video gave you value, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to see this. And remember, this is not financial advice. Do your own research, understand your risk, and invest only what you can afford to lose. See you in the next one.